I'm Jennifer Firestein, Associate State Director for AARP Michigan, and welcome to the Social Security Sack Lunch Series brought to you by AARP Michigan. Today's topic is, are you ready to file? There are 5 questions that you want to ask yourself. These are factors that are important to consider when it comes time to collecting Social Security. This is a 2-part series. This is part 2 of the series, but you don't have to watch them in order. So if you missed last week, you can watch the first session after this right here on Facebook or on YouTube. And that session was on the top 5 planning tips for filing. So both will be very informative for you and very important information if you're at that point in life where you're looking to collect Social Security. We have 2 amazing speakers with us today. Vonda VanTil is a Regional Public Affairs Specialist for Chicago's Regional Affairs Office. She will soon celebrate her 32nd year with the Social Security Administration. As a Grand Rapids, Michigan native, Vonda served as the Public Affairs Specialist in Michigan for 25 years prior to joining the Chicago team in 2022. And then we have Hilary. She is the Social Security Public Affairs Specialist in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Hilary has been with the agency for nearly 15 years and has extensive experience in conducting public outreach through education and training. Her role is to educate and inform the public about all things Social Security. So welcome, Vonda and Hilary.
Thank you so much.
I marveled last week, and I'm going to say it again, that between the 2 of you, you have nearly 40 years of experience working in the Social Security Administration. So if there's anybody that has the answers to today's topics, it'll be you. So to our viewers who are watching, if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the comment section. That's one of the benefits of watching live, is that you can ask your questions and you get answers right from the experts. So thank you, Vonda and Hilary, for being here again today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Yes, thanks for having us. So to get started, we have to read our disclaimer because, of course, it wouldn't be a government program without our disclaimer. The Social Security Administration is not affiliated with the organization providing this event. Participation in this event does not constitute an endorsement by the Social Security Administration or its employees of the organizations and information and products not provided by Social Security. The information is current at the time of this presentation, but Social Security policy is subject to change. Please visit ssa.gov for up-to-date information on our programs. Jennifer, I will turn it back over to you to kick off this Social Security Sack Lunch series.
Okay, and thank you for that disclaimer. I know you have to do it. It's some of the legalese, but it's out there. So yes, thank you for sharing that with our viewers. So Vonda, you're going to kick off the presentation, and the first question that people need to ask themselves is, are you working?
Right. So we're going to talk about the things that people need to think about when they're trying to figure out the right decision on when to apply for Social Security retirement benefits. As we talked last week, that's like the number 1 question. People just worry that they're going to make the wrong decision. There is no wrong decision, but there are some things to think about. And the first thing is, are you working? Because even though you're 62 and old enough to get a Social Security retirement benefit, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to get the benefits, because we do have earnings limits prior to one attaining their full retirement age. So we're going to talk in detail about these earnings limits, and we're going to start on the bottom row and move our way up. I like to do that because it's a little bit easier to understand. So the bottom row on that slide that we're looking at talks about the month you attain your full retirement age and continuing. There is no earnings limit. So that's easy, right? So we talked about last week how my full retirement age is 67 and my birthday's in March. So in March, when I turn 67, I can make as much money as I want. There's no limit. I can get Social Security benefits and continue working full-time, overtime, whatever I want. It doesn't matter how much I'm making. So that's the easy one. However, we move up a row. That middle row talks about the year you turn full retirement age. There's a different limit than when you're younger. So the year you attain full retirement age, you're allowed to make over that $50,000 mark. So again, I know that in March, I can make as much as I want. But if I want my benefits to start in January of the year I'm turning 67, I could make $56,520, and I can make that much in January and February and get Social Security in January and February, even though I'm not full retirement age until March. So that's the year one attains their full retirement age, that limit jumps way up. Now we're going to move to that top row, and that's the one that most people fall under and need to know about. And that's the row where it talks about how much you're allowed to make when you're under your full retirement age. So it's people 62 up to, if your full retirement age is 67, it's up to 67, of course. And it's all years prior to the year you attain full retirement age. In 2023, that limit is $21,240. And if someone makes over that limit, we withhold $1 for every $2 over the limit. So the first thing people always ask is, well, what's included in that limit? What do you mean $21,240? I'm going to have more than that coming in just from my retirement pension alone. And that's okay, because our earnings limits are earned income only. So think about it as what you have on your W-2 if you're working for wages, or if you're self-employed, it's your net earnings from your self-employment. And so it's not your pension from retirement. It's not your investment income, from your 401k. We don't care about your rollovers, your withdrawals. None of that matters. It's earned income only, and you're allowed to make that $21,240. Then the next question we always get is, well, I'm going to retire in the middle of the year, and I've already made more than $21,000. So are you telling me I got to wait until January of next year? And the answer is no, you don't have to wait. We have what's called the special earnings limits rule. So let's say I want to work until the end of August, and then I'm going to retire, and I'm going to be retired effective September 1 of this year. Well, obviously working full time from January to the end of August, I've already made over the 21,000. So how does this earnings limit work in my situation? Social Security doesn't care about how much you're making until you want to start collecting benefits from us. I want to start collecting benefits in September. So Social Security doesn't care about how much I made from January to August. They only care about how much I'm making in September through December. And because I've already made over that yearly limit, I'm allowed to make $1,770 per month from September through December. And we have that amount on that slide in parentheses under the 21,000. And that's why we have that there. The first year that someone files, if they've already made more than the yearly amount, then they switch to the monthly amount. And that's only important to me, Jennifer, if I am going to work somewhere. I'm retired in the end of August, and maybe I decide, I just want to do a small little part-time job somewhere, to keep busy. Then I can make that $1,770 per month doing that part-time job. And then the following year and continuing, it's always a yearly amount. You don't worry about what you make per month any longer after that first year.
So if you have a job or you're looking to get a part-time job, then you just have to be careful then to make sure that the hours that the employer sets for you don't go over that $1,770 a month.
That's right. And so from September through December, when I got to worry about how much I'm making per month, I don't want to go over that, because it's not $1 for every two in that monthly amount. It's you get a check or you don't. So you really want to be careful when you're doing the monthly limit. But then every year after that, if I end up making $5,000 too much, then I'm going to owe Social Security half of that, because it's one for every two. So I would owe Social Security $2,500 in that example.
Okay. So that third column then on the right, can you go into more depth then as far as like when you say that you'll get $1 for every $2, what happens to the difference then?
Yep. So if you make over that limit, the $21,240, let's say you made $5,000 over that limit, then you're going to owe Social Security $2,500. And what happens is we're going to send you an overpayment letter, and we're going to say, hey, you made this amount of money. You owe us this amount of money. We're going to withhold that from your future checks unless you want to, pay it all in one lump sum. Otherwise, we're just going to withhold future payments from an individual until we recover how much they owe us.
Okay.
Yep.
So it could get a little confusing for
Yeah.
people. So what's the best way? Like if they have a question about this, like, well, what do you mean I have to owe? And how do,
Yeah.
when do I not have to owe?
Right.
Where do they go to get the information?
So let's say someone filed for Social Security retirement, they weren't working, no problem, and they're bored, which happens a lot, Jennifer. We hear from people saying, I didn't think I was going to work and I realized I needed to do something. So they go and get a small part-time job somewhere and they realize, oh my gosh, I'm going to end up making more than I'm allowed. But I have to take, I have to work these hours. I told my boss I would. Then they need to call us and just say, hey, I think I'm going to make around 25,000 this year. Then we're going to put that in the system and then we're going to withhold payment so that they're not overpaid at the end of the year. But on the flip side, Jennifer, a lot of people don't call us and notify us. And that's okay too, because we find out about it because the IRS notifies us of what individuals make. And so eventually we find out about it and then we send the overpayment letter out. And, we don't charge them interest on that. It's not like, they're in a lot of trouble. It's just that we will find out about it eventually. So you can be proactive and let us know you think you're going to make over the limit, or just wait for that overpayment letter to come in the mail and address it at that point in time. There's no right or wrong to either side.
Okay. And you're not going to get in trouble if you miss something, or,
no,
if you don't, like call Social Security, because the IRS will notify you anyways.
Yeah, we do find out about it. And sometimes it takes a year or two before we find out about it. So I think a lot of people are like, oh, I got away with it. Social Security didn't know about my earnings. We do find out about it. I'll just let you know that in advance, but it's okay that you didn't call us. A lot of people don't even know they're supposed to call us, and that's okay because it all works out in the end anyway.
Okay. But you will know.
Yes, we will.
Bottom line.
Yes,
There's no getting around.
The IRS does talk to Social Security.
Okay. All right. So the second question then, Vonda, is people should be asking themselves, are they eligible for benefits from their spouse or ex-spouse?
Yeah. So the next thing people always ask us is, I've heard that I could get more on my spouse's record or on my ex-spouse's record. Do I even have to file for my own benefit if I don't want to? Can I just file on my spouse's record? So we're going to get into that in a little bit of detail because we actually did get questions about that on the first segment, because it is a pretty common question. So, just the specifics about a spousal benefit. The most you can get on your spouse's record is 50% of their full amount. In other words, whatever they could get at their full retirement age, you can get half of that as their spouse. It is going to be less than half if you file as a spouse prior to your full retirement age. And that third bullet point is very important. If the spouse's benefit is less than half of the workers, you get the difference. So in other words, if my husband's benefit is $3,000, well, half of that is $1,500. Let's say I have 40 credits and my own retirement benefit is $800. Then I'm only going to get the difference on my husband's record. I'm not going to get half of his and my own retirement. I get mine and then the difference on his record, which would be $700 in that example. And if I did file on his record for spousal benefits, it's not going to reduce his benefit at all. And if I did file for a spousal's benefit because I had a minor child in my care under the age of 16, then my benefit would not be reduced at all. And I can't get anything on my husband's record in my example until he actually starts getting Social Security retirement himself. So, let's say I'm 62 and I'm all ready to start collecting, but yet he's not ready and he doesn't want to file yet. Then I can't get anything on his record. I can file for my own retirement, but I can't get additional on his record until he starts collecting. And a very important point is you're not going to get spouse's benefits or divorced spouse's benefits unless your own full amount is less than half of theirs. So in my situation, I'm married and I've always worked, and so has my husband. So I know that my own Social Security retirement benefit is not going to be less than half of his. It's going to be less than his, but not less than half. So what that means is I can't get spousal benefits on his record. I only get my own retirement. He'll get his when he's ready to file. I'll get mine when I'm ready to file. We don't affect each other at all. So that's an important point to make. And we did talk about that on the last segment as well, is you must file for your own retirement benefits before we're going to look into additional spouses or divorced spouses benefits. And again, you would want to look into potential benefits on your ex-spouse as well. You do have to be married for at least 10 years prior to the divorce, and you can't be remarried to someone else and file on your ex's record. So keep in mind that it's not just if you're currently married, we have that divorced spouses segment as well.
And then that divorced spouse can collect on us too, right?
Yeah. It's not just about you filing on their record. They maybe could potentially file on your record as well. So if I had an ex-spouse out there, we were married for over 10 years prior to the divorce, and my ex is not remarried to someone else, and their benefits less than half of mine, they can file on my record for divorced spouses benefits. It's not going to reduce my benefit. And even if I'm currently married to someone else, it's not going to reduce my current spouse's benefit either. In fact, you will often see someone who has a spouse and an ex-spouse both collecting on their record, and neither one affects the other, which is a very important point to make, of course.
Yeah. Okay. So, it doesn't affect you then?
No, it does not.
Okay.
It does not. And one of the things that we talked about last week was, okay, I got to think about working. I got to think about my potential spouse, divorced spouse's benefits. But what about that retirement benefits, right? What happens if I file at 62? Is that going to be like a permanent reduction on my benefit for life? Or if I wait until I'm 70, does that mean that my spouse has to wait until I file? And the answer is yes. Your benefits can be reduced if you file early. It is a permanent reduction. But by filing early, that might mean your spouse can come on your record as well, right? If you wait until you're 70, then if you have a spouse, they're going to have to wait a long time as well, because if you're not collecting, they can't collect on your record as well. So I think the next slide that we have kind of goes into a little bit of detail. Oh, no, never mind. This one is Hilary's. So go ahead.
I think, are you talking about the percentages?
Yeah, I thought we had that slide.
The previous slide.
Yes.
We can go back to the previous slide.
There we go.
It is.
Yeah, I thought we had this slide. So this is an important one about when to file for that retirement benefit. There's no magic answer. You just got to go with what works for you in your situation. But we did want to highlight these percentages because we talked about them quite a bit in the first segment. So that bottom row is circled in red, right? That's because that's the people that we're working with right now. Anyone born in 1960 or later, their full retirement age is 67. I can't believe we're in that category because it just ages me so much. But there's no more chart after that. That's everyone born in 1960 or later. What that means is they get 100% of their benefit when they turn 67. It doesn't mean they have to wait until they're 67, right? They can file as early as 62. It does mean they're going to have about a 30% reduction in their benefit at 62. Every month they're a little bit older than 62, they get a little bit higher percentage. It's a month by month benefit increase, 100% at age 67. And then a lot of people want to just maximize their Social Security benefit as much as they can because they're thinking, oh, I'll probably be living off my Social Security for a much longer period of time than my other income that I'll have coming in. So they want to maximize that Social Security. Well, then you would wait until you're 70 to file because then you get an additional 24% added on to your full amount. Those are called the delayed retirement credits, and they're monthly increments equivalent to 8% a year. And so again, if you waited until you were 70, you'd get that additional 24%. So, we do have a calculator. We talked about those in the first segment. We do have a calculator called early or delayed retirement. All you do, Jennifer, is put in your date of birth and the month and the year that you're thinking about filing. And that calculator will immediately tell you what your benefit percentage would be. So if you have that dollar amount for your age 67, your full amount, then you can figure out, oh, this is my percentage of that dollar amount if I want to start collecting on that particular month. So we just kind of wanted to highlight this because it came up a lot in the first segment. So I skipped it and went to the spouses right away. So my apologies for that.
So people, and that is the biggest question that people always have is, when should I collect? Should I wait? Should I do it at 62? What are some of the factors that people should consider before, pulling the trigger on that?
Yeah. Well, the number one factor is working. So we just talked about, the limits from age 62 up to full retirement age. If someone's going to keep working full time when they turn 62, they're probably not going to be eligible for benefits anyway, because, you take how much they're making and do the $1 for every two, and they're probably not eligible for any benefits anyway. So I always tell people, once you know when you're going to retire from your job, that's when you have to decide, okay, do I want to now get Social Security because I'm retired? Or do I want to delay and get more monthly income from Social Security by delaying? Do you need more money now, or can you wait for that higher amount later? And that's where people have to kind of crunch the numbers with their other income, life expectancy, that type of decision making.
And what age is it where, if a person collects Social Security at age 62, at what age is it where they finally surpass what they could have made if they waited till they were 70, right? It's kind of like the crossover, right? Going to the other side.
It's called your break-even point. And we used to actually have a calculator on our website years ago, prior to even Hilary being with us. And it was called the break-even calculator, but we pulled it because it kind of is a little bit misleading because it's only using straight numbers from Social Security. Basically, if someone files at 62, they're ahead financially for a period of time, right? Because they're collecting for, if their full age is 67, they're collecting for 5 additional years. So they're obviously going to be ahead financially for a while, until they reach around the age of 80, 78, 80 years old. Then they're no longer ahead financially because they took that reduction at age 62. So it's typically around the age of 80 where they're no longer ahead financially because they took that reduced benefit. But we kind of try to keep people away from just doing the break even because it's not factoring in anything else. It's not factoring in your health or your investments, your savings, your other income that you definitely also have to take into consideration when you're making that decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's tough to know, right? If we all had our magic ball or our crystal ball, we could plan this out perfectly, but we just don't know. We don't know what our life expectancy is going to be, what kind of health issues we're going to have. So you do the best you can with the information you have at the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why we like to do these, because we're just like, here's some things to think about. We don't have the answer for you because we don't know the best time for you, but we do know what things are important when it comes to making that decision, and we talked about the working, that's obviously important. We talked about potential benefits on your spouse and ex-spouse's record, which is important. And we're looking at, the benefit reduction and the benefit increase, also very important. And, another thing that comes into play is you become a widow or a widower, or you are a widower and have been for a while. That's a whole nother thing to think about because it's a whole different benefit that Social Security administers. And that's what Hilary was going to talk about next, is that whole other benefit that we need to think about as well.
Yeah. So with Social Security, then, is it a set it and forget it, or is it's constantly like you have to be looking at, how to maximize your benefits, or, life changes, life circumstances, becoming a widow. So it's not a set it and forget it type of deal.
No, because, let's say, I'm in my mid 50s, I'm approaching 60, and I'm all ready to file for Social Security retirement, and I unexpectedly become a widow. Now that's a whole different potential benefit that I could be eligible for from Social Security. And it gives me a lot of options when it comes to Social Security that Hilary will be talking about, switching over benefits and collecting one and switching to the other. And It might be where now I can afford to retire younger than I thought, because that Social Security widow's benefit is higher than I expected to get. So it definitely is a process that you constantly need to be thinking about and factoring in different things that occur in your life, of course.
Okay. All right. So we have a couple of questions that came in. One is from Jana. She asked, can you explain how Social Security works if I also have TRS from working in the education system for 9 years?
Well, I think I'm assuming she's working for the state of Michigan. And if so, you are going to get Social Security just like everyone else, because state of Michigan employees pay into the Social Security system. So the fact that you're going to get a retirement benefit from the state doesn't matter. It doesn't affect your Social Security benefits at all. What would affect benefits is if you work for a non-covered employer, meaning you don't pay into the Social Security system, like the state of Ohio, they don't pay into the system. So when they get that retirement pension from the state, that does affect their Social Security benefits. But here in Michigan, our state employees do pay into the system. So your retirement system won't affect your Social Security at all.
Okay. And then a question from Lauren. She said, on my last statement, there was a note that benefits were going to reduce to 83% unless Congress acted. Does that mean we should start pulling benefits before full retirement?
Well, that's a great question. And I'm also very impressed that Lauren is reading her Social Security statement. That is very commendable. So here's what I tell people, and this is an excellent question to come up, because we're talking about things to think about when you're making that decision, right, on when to file. I do not recommend individuals file for Social Security out of fear that they're not going to get it at some point, or that they're not going to get 100% of what they're due because of the future solvency. Don't file for Social Security out of fear. We just unveiled our trustees report, and Social Security benefits are solvent until 2034, right, Hilary? It was 2034.
Yes, 2034.
Yeah. It changes every year. And then after that point, we're not capable of paying 100% of the benefits that we owe. But we're pretty confident that our government is going to make changes to that system so that we are going to continue to be solvent beyond 2034. I mean, Social Security is the most successful domestic government program that exists. And if they eliminated it, over half of our elderly would be living in poverty without it. So I can't imagine them just saying, you know what, we're not going to make changes to it. We're not going to, tweak it so that we can continue to pay benefits. They will make changes to the system so that it continues to be solvent into the future. So my recommendation to Lauren was, don't make a decision on when to apply for benefits based on fear. You will get your benefits. So make a decision based on what works for you in your particular situation.
Okay. I love that too. Don't make the decision based on fear. I think that's such a key point.
Absolutely.
And then a question from Sharetta. Would you explain the offset of working at a state institution and your Social Security? She said she retired in 2014, turning 65 in November, and thinking of applying this year.
Well, again, there is no offset unless you work for a non-covered employer. So if Sharetta worked, maybe for Ohio or Texas, where they don't pay into the Social Security system, and she's going to get a pension from that particular organization, then that will affect Social Security benefits. So if you have 40 credits from Social Security, because you also work somewhere else and paid into the Social Security system, if you have 40 credits, you will get a Social Security retirement benefit. However, it will probably most likely be reduced because of your non-covered pension. It's called the windfall elimination provision, and it's a tweak in our computation so that your benefit is reduced. And that happens once you're getting your non-covered pension and you file for Social Security retirement benefits. So you're getting both at the same time.
Okay. All right, Hilary, we're going to switch to you now. So we're going to move on to our next factor to consider, which is, are you a widow or widower?
Yes. So as Vonda mentioned earlier, there are some individuals that may be eligible for 2 different benefits and may need to choose which benefit they want to file for first. So again, another consideration when it comes to planning for retirement benefits. So you may want to file for retirement benefits first and then switch over to survivor benefits, or vice versa. Now this slide, this is really just kind of looking at the basic differences between a spouse and a surviving spouse benefit. So just to kind of recap what Vonda talked about with the spouse benefit, if your spouse is living, you can start collecting as early as age 62. Your spouse has to file for benefits in order for you to start collecting off of their record. The maximum you can collect is 50%, and that's if you wait until your full retirement age or later. If you start collecting before your full retirement age, the benefit is going to be reduced, and the amount that it is reduced by, it just depends on your age at the time you start collecting. Now with survivor benefits, there is some basic information to know about the survivor benefit. So you can receive a survivor benefit, the full benefit at your full retirement age, or a reduced benefit as early as age 60, or as early as age 50 if you're disabled. If you start collecting early, so let's say you start collecting at age 60, that's the earliest, you would receive 71.5% of the deceased spouse's benefit. And that's going to increase, that percentage is going to increase each month that you wait up to 100% at your full retirement age. And remarriage after the age of 60 will not affect your benefits. So an example of this is, let's say my husband and I are both in our 80s. So he's receiving benefits, Social Security retirement benefits off of his own record. He's getting $2,000 a month, and I'm getting Social Security retirement benefits off of my own record, and my amount is $1,500 a month. Well, if he passes away, I'm going to get that $2,000. So I'm going to drop what I was receiving on my record. I'm going to drop that $1,500, and I'm going to start receiving that $2,000 that he was getting at the time of his death. Again, that's because I'm past my full retirement age. Now, if I pass away first, he's not going to file for benefits on my record because it's going to be less than what he was receiving. So he's just going to keep getting that $2,000 on his own record. As I mentioned earlier, when individuals are thinking about retirement benefits, if they are also entitled to a survivor benefit, they have a choice as to which one they want to start collecting on first, and maybe switching over to the other one later on. So let's say I'm going to stop work when I'm 60. Well, I'm not old enough to start collecting Social Security retirement benefits on my own record because I'm only 60, and I have to be 62 to start collecting retirement benefits. But let's say that I had been married and my spouse passed away, so I could start collecting a widow benefit as early as age 60, and then I could switch over to my own retirement benefit later on. So I could switch to my own retirement benefit at my full retirement age. So there'd be no reduction because I waited until my full retirement age. Or I could even, start collecting that widow benefit and then switch over to my own retirement benefit at age 70 after I've earned all of those delayed retirement credits. So individuals that are, eligible for both a retirement benefit and a survivor benefit, they have a choice. They have a choice on which one they want to file for. So, another thing to consider when it comes time to start planning for retirement benefits.
And do you have the calculator on your website that goes through both the scenarios then, or you could just put it into one of the calculators to figure out which makes more sense?
So I know that we have Vonda, I don't know for sure if we do have a calculator.
No. For widows benefits, you actually have to contact your local office, or call our national toll-free number to find out how much you could get as a survivor, because we don't have that available online, because you can't get an estimate of someone else's record online. So you can get your own retirement estimates, but for survivor benefits, you would have to contact the Social Security Administration. And I think it's important to do that anyway, because there's some comparisons that go on and it can get a little bit complicated. And we want to make sure people make the right decision based on all of their options.
Yeah. And in going right to the source, you're going to get all the information accurate then as well.
Yeah.
Especially in situations like this, where it's like you're working on other people's reports and incomes and, benefits.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And, it's when someone passes away, you're going to contact Social Security anyway, because we have the lump sum death payment, which is the one-time payment of $255. So hopefully when they contact us for that, we also explain to them, well, we have, these survivor benefits payable at this age and, something to think about. So hopefully that process occurs when they contact us about the death.
Okay. All right. Hilary, the next question, or no, Vonda, you're doing the next question, aren't you? You're bouncing back and forth.
Yep.
So the next question is, do you need healthcare coverage?
Yes. So I'm gonna be pretty fast on this one for the sake of time, but it is very important. So I don't want to minimize the importance of this. But a lot of people have to keep working for health insurance reasons, right? Because you don't qualify for Medicare until you're 65. There are individuals on Medicare younger than 65, but that's because they're probably collecting Social Security disability benefits, because you also qualify for Medicare after 2 years of disability, or, have end-stage renal disease. And then you get Medicare as well. So Medicare is for individuals 65 and older, but it's only for you, the individual. It's not going to cover your spouse. Your spouse also has to be 65 or older. And so there's a lot of things to think about when you're approaching that age 65. Do I want original Medicare and then purchase a supplement to go with it? Because your original Medicare is A, hospital, B, medical. That's like traditional Medicare. Or do I want to have a Medicare Advantage plan, which is your Medicare A and B and other insurance coverage added onto it. And most of them also have prescription drug coverage. So lots more that can get covered about Medicare. It literally could be a segment on its own. The reason Social Security is even talking about Medicare is because we're the federal agency that enrolls and disenrolls everyone in Medicare. We don't administer the Medicare program, but we enroll and disenroll everyone in Medicare. So for more information, I would recommend going to medicare.gov, which is on that slide. And that's where people can, read about the enrollment periods, what they cover, what they don't cover, that type of thing. But for this segment, we just want people to realize, hey, I don't get Medicare until I'm 65. And your spouse also has to be 65 or older to qualify for Medicare. And that's what's important about when you're thinking about when to file for Social Security.
Yeah. And that is a big factor too, because if you don't have health insurance, you got to make sure that you've got a plan in place. And it may mean delaying retiring and collecting Social Security to be able to have that safety net there.
Exactly. You're exactly right.
Yeah. Okay, Hilary, now back to you. So the last question is, could you qualify for SSI, Supplemental Security Income?
Yeah, so let me explain a little bit what SSI is first, which is our Supplemental Security Income Program. So this is a federal program that provides monthly payments to people who have limited income and resources. So it's for people that are age 65 or older, as well as for individuals any age, including children who are blind or disabled, and they meet Social Security's definition of disability. And income, resources, and living arrangements impact the eligibility and the benefit amount for the SSI program. So what do I mean when I say, limited income and resources? So resources, that's what we call assets. And there is a resource limit in order to receive SSI benefits. And for an individual, that amount is $2,000. And for a couple, it's $3,000. Now, some of the things that would be excluded in that resource limit is the home where you reside. We exclude one vehicle, burial plots for self and family, and then some resources that are set aside for burial. But everything else would be included in that resource limit. When it comes to income, any income can impact the SSI benefit and eligibility for SSI. So first of all, it's important to know that for this year, the most that an individual can receive from the SSI program is $914 per month. So that's the maximum. So if you're receiving a Social Security benefit amount of $1,200 per month, you're not going to qualify for SSI because your income is too high. But maybe your Social Security benefit is lower than that. Maybe let's say it's $800 per month. Then you could qualify for an additional amount from the SSI program. And even if your Social Security benefit is close to $914, so if it's just a little bit less than that, you might think, well, I'm only going to be eligible for a couple of dollars, so what's the point? But for individuals that are eligible for SSI, they're also eligible for Medicaid, which is really huge for so many individuals. So if you are eligible for SSI, and maybe you're also, getting a Social Security benefit, that means you could have SSI, you could have Social Security retirement, you could have Medicare and Medicaid. So I just want to make sure that individuals know that if you do qualify for SSI, you're automatically entitled to Medicaid as well.
So when somebody is looking to apply for Social Security or SSI, what is the process? Is it the same process? Is it different?
That's a great question. And I first want to, give a plug to our website, ssa.gov. If you want more information about SSI, if you go to ssa.gov/SSI, there's so many great resources available. And there is a link there for applying for SSI. However, for individuals that are 65 or older that are going to apply for SSI, you cannot complete that application online. But when you go to our website and there's a link there and it's worded, that it will ask you, do you want to start your application? Once you select on that, you're not going to actually start the application. What it's going to allow you to do is it's basically telling Social Security that you want to file for SSI. So we're going to ask you some information about yourself. It's going to go to the local field office, and then someone from the local Social Security office will reach out to you to take that SSI application for you.
Okay. All right. So a couple of caveats to that, but go to the website and you can kind of get more information there then.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. You can also call us too to schedule an appointment for that SSI application. You can call our 800 number, 1-800-772-1213, or you can contact your local office to schedule that appointment as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So another question came in from Sharetta. She's asking, will this affect only the years that I worked for the state? I do receive a monthly pension from SURS in Illinois, or will this windfall reduction affect my overall credits?
Yep. So it sounds like she's getting what's called a non-covered pension. So she worked for the state of Illinois and they did not take Social Security taxes out of her payments. So she did not pay into the system. Because she's getting that non-covered pension, it will affect her Social Security benefits. How it affects her Social Security benefits is that it's going to reduce her monthly benefit because of that non-covered pension. So she's asking if she's going to lose her credits. You don't lose your credits. You have 40 credits. You're good to go. You're going to get a Social Security retirement benefit, but it is going to be reduced because of your non-covered pension. The maximum reduction in 2023 is $558 a month, and that does change every year. So if her benefit was calculated at $2,000, this non-covered pension could reduce it by a maximum of $558 a month, and she would get the remainder. So you're not going to lose those credits. You will always have Social Security credits, but it will reduce your Social Security benefit once you apply. And that's kind of tied in with somebody else who was asking a question, and I think they're hearing me say pension, reduced benefits, and they're worried. let me be clear. It's only non-covered pensions that will affect your Social Security benefits. A non-covered pension is from an employer that didn't pay into the Social Security system. So you didn't pay into Social Security and they didn't pay into Social Security. Now you're getting a pension that's considered a non-covered pension. But if you're working for, the question was, I'm working for an advertising firm and I'm going to get a retirement pension from them. It's okay. The advertising firm is probably paying into Social Security and so are you. So whatever retirement income you get from them, it's not going to affect your Social Security benefits at all. Go ahead and file. Your pension will not reduce your benefits at all.
Okay. All right. And then there's a question from Darlene. She's wondering, would starting to receive those funds impact signing up for Social Security? I turned 65 in March of 2023.
Yes. And the answer is no. It's not going to affect your Social Security benefits at all. And I'm pretty sure filing for Social Security and collecting Social Security is not going to affect what you have at your retirement, what your retirement plans are either. So neither one is going to impact the other. They don't even have to go hand in hand. A lot of people think once they retire, they have to file for Social Security. They don't have to go hand in hand at all. You can retire, get your pension from your place of employment, file for Social Security later, maybe up to age 70 because you want to maximize your benefit. That's okay because the two do not affect each other at all.
Okay. And then a question from Chandra. She said her husband is collecting his SSI presently. Can I collect on his pension?
So I'm guessing that it's probably not SSI that he's collecting. He's probably collecting his Social Security benefits. You could collect on his pension. His pension is something, totally different than Social Security. But if you're asking, can you collect on his Social Security? You could potentially collect benefits as a spouse. It's just going to depend on, if you're eligible on your own benefit. And in order to collect off of his record, your own benefit can't be more than 50% of his, because that's the maximum that you can receive as a spouse.
Exactly. And then she had a second part question. She said, I may have to go on disability. Will it affect my SSI?
So again, I would guess that by SSI, you mean Social Security. So if not, let me address the question if you are talking about SSI, that Supplemental Security Income Program. So the SSI program, again, it's for individuals that are age 65 or older or have a disability. So if you are receiving SSI based on a disability, if you're entitled to Social Security disability as well, you would be collecting that as well. So in order to be eligible for SSI, you do have to file for any other potential benefits that could be entitled to you because it's a needs-based program. Now, if you are talking about Social Security and disability, if you were to start collecting Social Security disability, the amount that you receive, it's the same amount that you would receive at your full retirement age. And then once you turn full retirement age, your Social Security disability automatically converts over to Social Security benefits. So you're not going to see a change at all on your end. The benefit amount is going to stay the same. We just start paying those funds from a different trust fund.
Okay. All right. Well, we are out of time. We could probably talk for hours about this, right? Because there's so many nuances and caveats, and it's just, it can get, very tedious and in the weeds. Mm-hmm. But the biggest takeaway for people is go to the website, so ssa.gov, or call the phone number. And again, Hilary, do you want to repeat the number?
Sure. That number is 1-800-772-1213.
Okay, so if people have questions, those are the two resources to be able to get your questions answered. And Social Security is amazing as far as answering those questions and helping you get on the right path and look at what all of your options are. So thank you, Hilary and Vonda, for being our experts in this matter. There's nobody else that we would even consider going to talk about this stuff. So we appreciate your time and filling our guests in on this. So again, thank you to our viewers. And again, you can watch this again. If you missed any portion of it or want to watch it again, you can watch it right here on Facebook or you can go to YouTube. So thank you and have a great day.